about.
You call that radio?
Makes coherent sense.
It's You Call That Radio. And it's return of the Diarc. Joe Diarc is about to join us live. Hello, Lou. Hello. Shouts to Epimoo, who has become a YouTube member. You can support You Call That Radio by either hitting the join or super chat functions on YouTube, or you can become a patron at patreon.com/You Call That Radio. This show is not possible without all you guys supporting us, so thank you to everyone who still does. We're talking a little bit about this, Gallus Adventures. The price is just about to go up to £30 instead of £20. But for the patrons, we're going to email you a little 50% discount link in case you want to join us for my birthday. And a wee Gallus adventure. Bands, DJs, barbecues, and all-night buses. Or the option to camp. But I'm going to bring on Joe. Small music scene's now. Hello, small music scene. Hello, Paul. Hello, everyone that's tuned in. It's Joe. The
Hello.
return of Joe. I didn't think I'd see the day.
Well, I know. It looked a bit sketchy for a while, didn't it?
Can we just start with the, excuse the pun, backstory to what has been going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had bother with my back for years, actually on and off, but kind of from, well, I suppose August of the first lockdown, I think just with too much sitting about, I'm usually really active, so that kind of flared it up quite a lot, and I managed to get it back a bit, but in January this year, Christmas, it went really bad, and then just progressively got worse and worse and worse. Usually I'd managed to, anyone that has a back problem kind of knows that you get a bad bit and then you kind of build back to being okay, well, or maybe not okay, but not as bad, and then it goes again. So there's this kind of pattern, but the pattern was just like this. So then in March, May, sorry, when I was actually on holiday in Spain, yeah, like just went absolutely crazy. So I was just like, I couldn't really walk by the time that I got back to the hospital. And
if we just pause it at Spain just now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on reflection, it was a terrible idea to go.
Well, and I did ask professional advice on that, and they were saying, just go and do as much of your day-to-day life as you can, because that's the advice that is given, because I suppose what you're told by physiotherapists is that activity and is a way to stop it getting worse, and to make it better, which is correct in a lot of cases, but my disc was so bad that really somebody should have been saying at that point, because even when I went on holiday, I was basically, the doctor gave me like a bunch more tablets than I'd already been on, which I was already on quite a fair bunch from January, and I just said, yeah, just kind of do your day-to-day. There's this kind of, again, anyone that's had physiotherapy or kind of been dealing with chronic pain, there's a school of thought about the way that your brain signals to your pain is not really correct, so it's kind of malfunctioning, which again is the case in a lot of people's situations. So I've hurt my back a year ago, and my brain at the time is saying, you're sore, stop moving, stop doing stuff. So you do for a bit, but then for some people they'll heal up, other people that pain will just continue on. But the problem is when this is kind of a bit of a blanket thing across the board, so they're not checking if it is anything worse. They're just saying, oh, this has been 3 years now, it'll just get better. It's just your brain, sending signals that aren't really there to your body. Actually, that wasn't really the case, you know what I mean?
And at the time as well, it was like the sort of idea behind Spain was, well, if I'm going to be in pain anyway, I might as well be next to the swimming pool and relaxed in the heat rather than being in the cold. But obviously,
that's why I thought, well, more activities. I can be swimming in the sea, I can be walking and doing all that kind of stuff, and getting some sunshine, not being shivering in Scotland. So I thought it's the right thing to do. I knew that it wouldn't be, a normal holiday, but at least it would be better than being in agony here. It would be a bit better. And to be fair, it was for, the first bit. I was glad I went. I wasn't so glad I went at the end though, because it wasn't fun trying to get back from, not just, I mean, again, this is me being mad though, isn't it? Going somewhere in the middle of nowhere to when really I should have stayed beside the airport. But anyway, in my head, I thought relaxation, the mountains, the fresh air, it'll be good for me. But yeah, I mean,
of Spain, and I think the last night before it got really bad, we were at Space Mountain, which is Youth's Festival.
I think that's where I did it in.
You went back with the girls because you were just like, I think I've had enough. I don't know if that was at the time. It was just the pain medication or whatever, but you were just tired. You wanted to go back, but you weren't.
Oh no, I was really, really sore over it. So what happened that night is that I was just determined that I was going to go, even though I was feeling a wee bit sorer before than I had been, and I just took all my pills at once and then drank a whole bunch of gin. And I just thought, I'm just like, well, not dangerous amounts of pills, but like everything I could possibly take to ease my pain, and a bunch of gin, which probably isn't safe actually. But anyway, I did that because I thought I want to dance. I want to go and just be me and be at a party and that kind of thing. So that is what happened. And then I did dance only for about an hour and a half, maybe over the whole night. But yeah, I had to send myself home at 1 a.m. because, and anyone that knows me on a night out, me sending myself home from a good party at 1 a.m. is not what I do usually.
And it was the next day. It still seemed like it was okay. The painkiller seemed to be taking.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kidding on. It wasn't really bad. I was like, it's not really bad. It's not really bad. But I was like, I fucked it.
There was a point where the facade had to get. It was beyond. So you were like going to sleep for maybe 2 hours, an hour, and then you were waking up screaming in agony, having to be helped to your feet.
Yeah.
And that would normally do. I mean, as someone who's had a very sort of minor back injury, it was really well inconvenient, I would say. But what I used to do was I would wake up with spasms in the morning, so I'd wake up, I'd be sore, but then as soon as I sort of gave myself a back rub and walked around for 5 minutes, it would just go away. But you were actually screaming in agony for about 20 minutes, and then that's when we realised that this was actually something much worse had happened.
Oh, yeah.
There was no hospitals nearby. We were in the mountains, and this went on for about 3 days of agony.
Yeah.
And then, in order to try and save a bit of time on the travel, we got a taxi for about 90-minute drive. It was not cheap, but we got back to Malaga.
Which was terrible as well, because sitting down made me really sore. But then the idea of trying to get on and off buses and trains, because that was how we got there and how we planned to get back, because ever budget traveller.
Because the painkillers you were taking, because the amount of painkillers you were taking, you'd got the time of the flight wrong anyway. So if we tried to do that, we'd have missed the flight. And by that point, all the Rangers fans had appeared and turned Malaga into Little Glasgow. So
yeah,
it was a good thing. I think that was the taxi thing. Getting at the taxi was impossible. It took about, I don't know, 2 hours to do a 10-minute walk to get to the beachfront. And then at that point, we realised that the flight was actually in an hour rather than.
Yeah, I know, because I was like, oh no, I'll just get out. The taxi driver stopped to get cash or something, didn't he? And then let's get out here, because I was so sore from sitting down all that time, and I was just like thinking 1 minute at a time. So we got out the taxi and he goes away, and I was like, I don't know if I can walk. So it was just, yeah, oh God, what a disaster. The
taxi driver didn't know what was going on, because obviously there was a bit of a language barrier. He just knew you were in a lot of pain. And then we got on the aeroplane, and getting through security was bad, because you were in so much pain that the security sent you back to put another thing through. We were about to miss the flight. You were there.
Yeah, and I was so slow as well, because we were late, and I was also just like total hobbling along. Like, I actually don't know how I made myself walk them. And I think back to just lots of drugs, lots of painkillers, I think. But
You also gave the woman at security, who may or may not have had a gun, I can't remember, a bit of cheek, because she made you walk back through because you had a liquid or something, one of the ones. You're like, we're going to miss our flight, and she's like, it's not my problem.
I can't remember that at all.
No. Yeah, I think the opiates had kicked in by then. But,
yeah, I was just swallowing everything I could.
Do you remember the actual aeroplane? Do you remember the aeroplane journey?
No, but I do a little bit. I remember it being really sore, because obviously you've got to sit down at the start and end, so that was not fun at all, because sitting down is the worst thing I could do. But there was a really nice wee guy who was about 2 or 3 rows behind. Is that what you're talking about, the wee guy? He gave me like a Valium, because he had a sore back as well, so he had Valium for them. And he was like, this is what you need, this will help you. And just total sorted me. So I was like, thank God, yes, please, that is exactly what I need. But it did help. So kind of him.
Let you stand, obviously, the rest during the flight, but you couldn't stand, obviously, for takeoff.
No, because it's not safe, is it? Yeah, so, yeah, I had to just do that kind of half hour, 40 minutes or whatever, each side of the flight. But, brutal.
And then from the airport to... So get off at Edinburgh Airport.
No, it was Edinburgh. Yeah, I mean, I've blanked that bit out. I can't even remember that at all.
Edinburgh Airport. I don't know. We're trying to charge our phones to find a way out, because at the time you were thinking about trying to get a lift from your dad to go to the Fife Hospital.
I can't even remember that. Yeah, I don't know.
That was one of the plans.
Oh, right, okay. Okay.
And then we're also considering maybe going to Murphy-Mishes, because he's not far away. And then we decided just to go to Glasgow Airport, go back to Glasgow.
Yeah.
And by that point it was already decided that it needed to be hospital, so it was like, well, we go to Glasgow Hospital or Fife Hospital.
I do remember that, because in Fife the accident in A&E is at Kirkcaldy, isn't it? So that was why we decided not to do that, because it's probably about the same distance to Kirkcaldy from Edinburgh as it is to kind of Dunfermline area, which is what I'd had in my head, because that's where I'm from. So I thought it's probably about 20-25 minutes to the hospital in Dunfermline. But Fife only has A&E, and I believe it's only Kirkcaldy. Maybe there's another one up northeast somewhere, but I'm sure St Andrews has an accident and emergency. I'm sure they're not going to Kirkcaldy, are they? Yeah, everyone else in Fife, the shite bit of Fife, has to go to one accident and emergency.
So basically, let's fast forward a wee bit. So we get off at Glasgow. I drop you off. This is actually, at this point, the European final's going on. Rangers are in the European final. So Glasgow's is Hochen, and we drop you off at the hospital. You're kept in overnight. Yeah,
well, I had to. That makes sense as well. Of why, I mean, obviously, I think everybody has to wait a million years to get anything now. But I've waited for so long. I remember you phoning and being like, "Are you still in the waiting room?" I was like, "Yeah," but maybe with the football being on, it was maybe worse than normal or something for getting seen.
I think it seems to be clear that the waiting times are ridiculous, no matter what day you go in these days.
Yeah,
and. Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about... sorry, just hello to we're just going to say hello to everyone who's tuned in. Hello, CJ. Hello, Joe McCann. Hello, Mark. Hello, Ali. Hello, Astronomic is in the house. Hello, Joe. Opus and Gin, Breakfast of Champions.
That's all there was for it, honestly. That's all there was for it.
Hello, Never Wakes fan diving in. Glad you're well. You're looking great, Joe, says Susie. Welcome back, Joe, says Jigsaw Tiger. And Mark, can you turn up your mic a wee bit? Yes, I can. I can indeed. Okay. Hopefully that's a bit better. Is that a bit better? Okay, so anyway, let's just go to the... So obviously... We want to, before we go and dive into this bit, the next bit's not going to be slagging anyone who works within the NHS, or maybe there is a couple of people you want to slag, Joe, that's up to you.
But maybe not.
The underfunding, the state of the NHS, just take a few minutes to just explain your situation. So at this point, you've now been, you're in screaming agony, and this is with all the painkillers under the sun. This is the most and obviously you got even more in hospital because they can actually keep an eye on you to make sure you don't overdose, so that you can get a bit more pain relief in hospital.
Yeah.
Explain what happens when you're in Glasgow Hospital and you're seen, and take it from there.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I waited for ages and ages to be seen in the first place. I mean, like I say, I don't want any. I don't know. I don't want this to be an anti-NHS rant at all, because NHS is amazing, but it's definitely. I mean, everybody knows a story of somebody that has had a really bad experience, and I would certainly say. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so what happened was I waited for ages to get seen, and there's a problem called, I think it's caudioclina or something it's called, where it's really urgent to get spinal surgery. If you have this thing, it's where all of your nerve is compressed in one go, and it can, you can quite quickly lose your bottom half, basically, of feeling. So they did an MRI and tested me for that the next day, which was good that they did that so quickly. But as soon as that was kind of ruled out, then it was kind of like, right, we just need to get her ready to get her out again. Even though, there really wasn't much controlling the pain. It was so bad. I mean, I was taking, I don't know, am I allowed to list drugs, Mark, or is it not a thing to do in Europe? Yeah. So I was like, by this time in the hospital, I'd already been on pregabalin, full dose of that. The maximum you can take, and tramadol, combined together with naproxen as well. So that's what I and paracetamol too. That's what I've been taking before, like the full dose of that. So on top of that, at the hospital, they added Valium or diazepam, baclofen, which is a similar kind of drug, and what else? Morphine, liquid morphine as well on top of that. So that was kind of what I was taking. So anybody that saw any videos or anybody that I communicated with, that's why I was pretty much dribbling down my chin for about 2 months. But so when I was in the hospital in Glasgow, they doped me up with all of that, and got me I was in for 3 nights. And then on the Friday afternoon, they said that they were putting me out that night, that I couldn't stay in over the weekend. But that the pharmacy didn't have the right amount of drugs. So this was they said they were putting me out, and I was like, right, well, I don't know where to go, because like you were away, Mark, my partner, was away, so I would have been going home alone, or the other option was to go to my parents, who are both elderly. They're not infirm or anything, but they're older, and it really, I didn't actually, in hindsight, it really wasn't fair to have put that on them at all. But anyway, that was the option that we went for, because it was made quite clear to me that I had to leave. Things like physiotherapists coming in the middle of the afternoon when I've taken all these pills, and saying to me, right, so what's the problem with getting out of bed? And I'm like, well, I can get out of bed now, mate. I can't get out of bed for 2 hours in the morning, which isn't like, that doesn't work. You know what I mean? But kind of being dismissive about, well, if you can do it now, then you're good enough to leave. And I'm like, right, that's not really good practice at all. So anyway, this physiotherapist said she thought I was fine to go because I could get out of bed when I was absolutely off my box after 2 or 3 doses of those pills. And the nurse, who was horrible, and I've taken her name, I'm going to make a complaint about her. Just her whole manner was awful. And anyway, she's standing saying to me, so you're definitely the consultant, so the doctor consultant that knows his stuff, and not saying the nurse doesn't know her stuff, but he's the consultant looking at my x-rays saying, you need to have surgery, and that's not going to fix itself. It's too bad now. Looking at your scan, you have to have surgery. And like, I honestly think the guy's face was white, and just the way that he was looking at me was like, I could see that he was just thinking, this is horrible, sending someone away like this. And then, but the nurse, just such a cold way about her. was just really, really speaking to me like crap, to be honest. And I was so wasted at that time, and I was so kind of bogged down by the pain and so tired by the whole process that I was just like, right, well, okay, if that's what it is, that's what it is, which isn't entirely my nature a lot of the time. But so then she was, obviously she's kind of saying, no, you just need to go. And I was like, but he's saying I need surgery. And she's like, you're not going to get surgery. She's like, the waiting list for surgery is a year, probably nearer 2 years, at least a year. And I was like, so I've got to be like this for potentially 2 years. And she was like, well, yeah. She's like, we'll sort out some physiotherapy for you. And then it cuts to this little physiotherapist that's told me that I'm fine because I can get out of bed while I'm completely mashed on the drugs. Still in pain, may I say. The drugs weren't completely taking away the pain. They were just, settling it a little bit. But in the morning, I was just having to bite my pillow and just absolutely scream it for about half an hour, 45 minutes, till the drugs kind of kicked in. But they weren't taking that into account anyway, so they sent me off.
The physio part I find quite interesting as well, where it's it was a lot of the advice that we're giving you was about for what people should do for back. So, for example, stretches, yoga. Even though that you'd actually completed yoga over lockdown because of your back and became a yoga instructor.
Yeah, well, I don't think you complete yoga, is it?
Did you get a black belt in yoga?
No, I mean, yeah, this is the thing with, I suppose there's something about the personalisation of care, because I feel like every physiotherapist I saw since this went again in August 2020 has been like computer says no, basically following some kind of script that is just obviously laid out for them. Really, it seems to be that the aim is to keep people away from needing a higher level of care, which I get that. You don't want people getting a higher level of care than they need, but the problem is when the system is actually almost becoming about just avoiding giving the care to the people that actually do need it and stringing it out for as long as possible. Because, I should have had another MRI, and I should have been on that 2-year waiting list way before I got there, because of what I was displaying, because of what I was shown. But things like I'd ended up in a pain management physiotherapy program, so they're all about their ethos is that there's nothing wrong with you. We need to teach you to deal with this pain. But my pain was getting progressively worse. And in fairness, they were kind of going, I think we maybe need to do something. But it's not how they work. It's not their script. So I was off script for them. So it meant I had to, but there was no point in me coming out of that physiotherapy service and going into the musculoskeletal one, which is where I should have been probably to get on the right chain to maybe get surgery, because they're looking at people that they don't know what's wrong. Oh, maybe there is something wrong with this person. But to go into that, I would have had to come out of the queue for that, come out of the fits where I was getting physiotherapy and in the system in some way. I'd have had to come out of that and go back to the start of a waiting list elsewhere. So, and I waited to get that physiotherapy. That was about 1.5 years on a waiting list to get that in the first place, so that's why everything took so long. It's not about just one waiting list, it's about all the waiting lists. So I'm on a waiting list for physio for this amount for 1.5 years, then I'm on a waiting list for an MRI for I'm still on a waiting list, I think, for MRI through them actually, and then everywhere you go. So it's just not good enough, because by the time, if their process is to keep people from getting to the point where they need expensive treatments like surgery, and it's not just about it being expensive. I know there's an element of it being about you don't want to give people surgery unless they need it, because who wants that? It's not good for anyone. But it goes from you know, that's different when, like, I've spoken to friends who've had this surgery, you know, within the past kind of 10 years or so, and they've been on waiting lists for the surgery. Once the physio has decided, or the consultant has decided, right, they need surgery, let's put them on the list for surgery. It's maybe 2 months maximum waiting list. It's what I've heard of for people over the past few years having had that. So to be at the state that we're in just now, in the sense that it's a 2 year waiting list as opposed to maybe a 2 month waiting list, surely they need to be readdressing how they're approaching it. Like, you can't let the injury get to the point where it's completely unbearable before putting someone in a list for the surgery if it's going to be 2 years, because you can't live with unbearable. There's this kind of focus on saving lives, but in my opinion, what they left me in, in my opinion, getting that surgery did save my life, because I don't know what would have happened to me if I'd had to be in that state for 2 years, you know, even a year, even if it had been an optimistic, but I just don't know what would have happened. I don't know if I could have done that. If I had, then I'd have been bed bound pretty much for a lot of the time. My muscles would have wasted away. I'd have been addicted to morphine. And, you know, even with the morphine, your tolerance goes down. I don't know what would have happened to me. So this is, I suppose that's one of my many grievances with NHS about this, is that, you know, but they can't go follow these old protocols if they've got horrendous waiting lists like that. Everywhere else in the service needs to adapt, but then I suppose they can't, because they've not got the resources to do it. So, do you know, maybe they are aware of that, and they still just need to do it. I don't know. Maybe they're all just hoping that private healthcare is going to take over. I don't know. I suspect not. NHS staff are not hoping that. I would hope that wasn't the aim from managers and things within the NHS.
That's the thing. Friends in the NHS were just like, you know, that 2 years is optimistic, and you need to find a way to try and do it private.
Well, that was what I was, and
that's from our friends in the NHS who were like,
yeah, I mean,
this is terrible. This is terrible, but there's no way around it.
This is the thing as well, is like there was so much about, you know, over the whole time that I've been dealing with them about this, and I've got endometriosis as well, and I have had dealings over this time to do with that too, and it's been similar, not obviously as dramatic an experience with my endometriosis, but similar experiences across both. And, you know, being told one thing, or this is what will happen, or this is how long you'll wait, or this is how long it'll take, this is what to do, and actually either not being true, being half truths, ending up being loads longer, things like that. So you lose trust and you lose faith, and that's not good enough as well. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe that nurse was doing me a turn, telling me how long it would be. But back to what I was saying about that nurse that was just bloody horrible. She basically, as I was leaving, it's 4:30. My dad is driven through from Fife to get me, and she says, "Oh, the pharmacy don't have the right drugs that you've been taking." And it was actually the pregabalin, so it was my medicine that I was on. And actually stopping taking all that pregabalin like that is really quite dangerous as well. So anyway, she sends me out and tells me to go home and look and see if I've got any pregabalin in the house. And I said to her, I've just been on holiday and had a massive flare-up. I don't have extra pregabalin, because that is all, like, I took it all basically, every last bit. To get me back to the hospital. So she just sent me off on a 4:30 on a Friday, and you can't, you know, NHS 24 don't give you drugs like that. You need to see your GP or go into hospital. So what happened was my dad came and got me. I went to see if I had any in the house. I didn't. Drove through to Fife.
And this is actually, for people who are watching, there was a few people that were at the Gyros gig that night. We were at Room 2.
Is that when that was?
God, that's when that was, yeah.
Oh yeah, with the Mickey Nines, yeah, okay.
So the night before, we just thought that, I mean, up until maybe the day or two before, that we just thought this was a bad flare-up. Maybe the week before, we're like, which is a bad flare-up, we might need to cancel the gig or get another bassist in. And then obviously it was quite obvious when you go into hospital that this was not going to be able to play. Colin Symes saved the day, and he stepped in. But as far as we were aware, you were in hospital being looked after, and everything was you were going to be looked after by the hospital staff. And then I get a phone call as we are sound checking. And
was that right? I didn't know that, actually.
Yes, we were sound checking. I ran round to give your dad and you the key. You parked. Obviously, your dad doesn't know how to drive about the city centre. He doesn't really like that, but he's picked you up and took you. I didn't know what was really going on, and I've given you the keys, and then that's when you went away to look for stuff, and you couldn't find it. So you've basically been sent away without your medicine, and been sent away to sort of fend for yourself. And just before we go into the next bit, I'm just going to read out a couple of questions. There's a couple of things coming in, quite a lot of comments. This is so awful, Joe. Sorry to have to go through this. I saw Joe that night. Her body posture said it all. You were pretty frantic when I met you outside room 2 that night, Mark. Yeah, I mean, this was all happening in the background. We still did the gig. I've never cancelled it. Maybe I should have cancelled that one, but it was it was all happening so fast because, as far as I was aware, I'd visited you in the hospital at 2-3 o'clock and brought you your laptop and your bits and bobs, and it seemed like you were getting the care that you needed, but. No,
well, I mean, they were really quick. It was really quick that they just decided. I think it's because it was the weekend, and they just decided, oh, if she's in now, she'll be until Monday, so we need to get her out. But yeah, sorry.
That's bloody awful sending you away without the right medicine. Yeah, I mean, it's wrong. And
I'm going to complain because it's not okay.
We'll go back. We'll be coming back to that later on when staff in another hospital confirmed that was actually. I mean, it might even be illegal. We don't even know. Good evening, hello, Mary. So yeah, Lou's saying. So basically, telling you your physical pain is actually psychological. Now, the reason for that, Lou, is someone who had a back pain. It's because when it happened to me. I'll just give my example of what happened to me when I had my back pain. Is that so? For about 4 months, I was waking up with those spasms. It was nothing like the pain Joe's going through. It was just, but as an anecdotal thing. When everybody, I've got all my hippie friends were saying, I'll do a such and such in your back, and I was like, leave my back alone. I want to get actual treatment. I think those days the waiting list wasn't that bad. I think I waited a couple of months, and then when I got there, they just gave me exercises that I could have just got from the NHS website, to be honest. So if you've just got normal back pain, I recommend you just go to the NHS exercises. And the woman said, your back's fine, it's just basically it's the wrong messages are getting sent to your brain. Do these exercises and it'll fix it. And it did work for me. A week later, I was fine. But I mean, I was literally doing a couple of stupid little exercises while Joe's doing advanced black belt yoga. So,
but I mean, I wasn't really doing yoga, because actually doing yoga when your back's like that is not good. Well, if your back's really sore, a lot of yoga poses will aggravate it. So I was just doing some really basic stuff, and I was doing like kind of more like strengthening, like Pilates, and really just physio exercises to stay strong. But yeah, I mean, like diligently doing everything that they told me to do, and it was just making it worse and worse and worse. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not so much that they're saying it's in your head, like it's all in your head. It's kind of
imagining it. They're not saying that.
It's like your pain is real, but it's not. There's no cause for it. It's like your brain is creating that, even though it's real pain. But yeah, so kind of, I suppose I mean, I suppose that is saying it's psychological, isn't it? But
it's saying it's psychological. I mean, it's not saying it's imaginary, basically.
To be fair, yeah. So they're not saying that I'm making it up or it doesn't exist, but they're saying that there's not really a reason for it. So. To be fair, I think there are cases of back pain, a lot of cases of back pain like that. The thinking as well is for something like a slip disc, that the treatment in the early stages would be exactly the same. So there's no point at those early stages of maybe going for an MRI and having all that radiation and things like that. So this would be if the system worked, if the system is perfect. The idea would be do some physiotherapy, see if you can, if you can get your disc sorted, and then if you can sort it, then grand. If you can't sort it, then you would go and maybe get a scan, see how bad it is, and then you may need surgery if you need it. So that would be the idea, I suppose, kind of. For how it would happen if you're so that's why it's okay to say to people, it's probably what is happening here is a kind of psychological reaction to pain that you've felt, and your body's bracing itself and it's tensing up and it's trying to protect itself. But the problem is that when there is actually something wrong that's causing it, it seems they're like stuck on this computer says no loop, where it's like, oh no, but that's just the go-to, that is what's wrong, and everybody gets told that, and no matter what you say, no matter what you do, that is the answer, if you know what I mean. But it's not always the answer, because in my case that wasn't the answer, and I knew I had a bulging disc, a slip disc from August 2020, but what they said is that is not enough to cause pain, to cause the pain that you're in. So even, yeah, I don't know. I'm really skeptical about the whole thing now, because I was kind of buying into their story of it all, it being in your head, and that this. So what they say is that if you scan someone's discs, and like people without pain will sometimes show as having kind of a mild bulging disc or a mildly slipped disc, and they're not sore. Some people are and some people aren't. So that would suggest that people that have a slipped disc like that, it's not caused, it's not that's not the cause of their pain. So this is the reason that they go down this route as well. However, what I would also say is that they scan people, MRI scans, lying on their back. Now, if you think what happens when you lie and you take the weight bearing off of your spine, if you've got a disc that is being compressing like this and squishing out into your nerve, when you lie down, surely everything relaxes, your discs move apart slightly, your spine elongates, and then your discs will widen. So, the surgeon that I ended up going to down in London said that they use the stand-up scanner because for things like that, because sometimes it can look in a lie-down scanner that there should be no pain being caused, whereas actually when you put someone in a standing up scanner, it shows that it's pushing. So I think that's what's been the case for me, is that it looked when I was lying down like it wasn't causing me pain, but it actually was, and they were just like, nah, you're fine.
Before we go to London, let's go to Fife. So your dad picks you up, takes you to Fife, and this is when you've been sent away without your medication by that nurse.
Oh, she was horrible as well, honestly. I don't understand why people like that do nursing. She was like, I don't know, horrible.
So what happens in Fife? What happens
anyway,
when you get to Fife?
Yeah, so, well, when I got to Fife, I survived till the middle of the night, and then obviously when my drugs ran out of my system, I was in absolute screaming agony. Like, it was just screaming and screaming. So then my mum and dad phoned an ambulance that evening, basically. And yeah, I just ended up screaming till I passed out on the floor at my parents' house, and then an ambulance took 9 hours to come. So that was a Friday or Saturday night or something like that. And obviously, again, I'm not having a heart attack, thank God, nothing like life-threatening in that sense. So yeah, 9 hours later, someone came and took me to the hospital in Kirkcaldy, and I ended up in there for another week, I think, was it, something like that. And when I got there, I told them what had happened, and yeah, they were obviously not happy about that. And I don't know if someone maybe phoned the hospital in Glasgow, or maybe the woman, that nurse, wrote her notes or spoke to someone or whatever, but she phoned me, the horrible nurse from Glasgow phoned me and to apologise. I'm positive it's not because she actually felt bad, because I don't think she was a very nice person. I think it was because someone had kicked her arse from somewhere or other and said, what the hell did you do? Probably the latter. I think, obviously sending someone out without the right medication that they'd been on in hospital anyway, but considering it was the pregabalin and all the paperwork says, all the you're meant to taper that. You can have seizures and things like that if you just stop taking that. Although I did not pay attention to that when I did stop taking it, but you're not meant to do that. So yeah. Anyway, that's what happened. happened. She phoned me to apologise, which I suppose, and I was just out of my box. I was like, all right, whatever. Well, it wasn't great, but I didn't really respond. I don't know what I said to her. I can just remember being quite unimpressed, but like I couldn't really muster any emotion at that point,
Yeah, it's hard to tell if she's maybe...
Sorry, but...
It's hard to tell if a doctor has maybe said, no, like, she should not have been sent away, or someone has said, what you doing, or it was the hospital that complained, or...
I know,
maybe,
either.
Is she just trying to save her job, or in realising this is a serious complaint, or is she... did she realise the error of her ways?
Don't know. And do you know, I mean, I suppose, like, trying to be... I don't think anybody's a full horrible person, and I've got some trauma going on around about that experience and the way that she behaved to me, kind of. So, but trying to take a step back from it, I suppose, she's overworked, underpaid, probably, and massive stress, having to deal with being screamed at and shouted at. Not screamed at, but I was so sore that I was just screaming. Not at that point she was chucking me out, but I don't know what, for her own sanity, just wanted me to get to I don't know, but that's not okay. But I can understand how, if you are a nurse, how you could be pushed to that point, even if you have gone into it for the right reasons, and you are, I'm sure there's some horrible people that just want to have the power and do weird, that kind of thing. I'm sure that happens in nursing as well. It's common in kind of care and things as well, for there to be bad eggs. but even somebody that is genuinely trying to do their best could get to the end of their rope, and I could imagine how they'd just be like, oh my god. That ward that I was in is orthopedics, so it's usually old people with like broken hips and things like that. So I could understand how they'd be like, do you know what, like, you're fine, you can go. They've probably got old women that they're having to send home on their own with a broken hip and stuff, horrible things like that. I don't know, the mind boggles at what they're actually, how they're sending people out into the world, But
so we've got so on to the next part, which is we've got obviously the situation is absolutely dire. I visited you in Kirkcaldy Hospital with Tam. Shouts to Tam, who gave us a lift. Tam and Karen came with me, and you don't even remember me being there.
No,
it's been a constant of the last few months where it's like I got into trouble for not visiting or calling, and I was like, check your call register, and there was lots of calls.
I think it's just like when you were phoning and arriving. I actually think it was after my second dose of medication, you know what I mean? So I'd have it in the morning, and then my second dose would kick in, because I can remember my dad would visit at about 10 in the morning, and I can remember most of his visits, but I can't remember Nikki visiting. I can't remember. I vaguely have a vague memory of being in the Costa and me standing up, and you all sitting down, because I couldn't sit. I can kind of remember that now that you said that you were with Tam and Karen. Actually, I have a kind of weird, hazy memory of that. But I couldn't remember speaking to you on the phone. There was other people. I can remember Rebecca Radical and Lewis came to see me. So I remember them coming. I don't know what time they came. Maybe we can work out my theory about the medication, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So, but I mean, they were pretty good in Kirkcaldy, to be honest, overall. Until obviously at the end, they just decided, they were just like, no, your pain's under control. You need to leave. But I mean, even, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe that a few years ago you would have been put out like that as well, because I couldn't really sit down. So obviously for, it's not,
just to clarify,
it was well sketchy.
Well, it was like Jo had to stay on her feet this whole time. Because by sitting down or lying down, in order to stand back up or get out of bed, it was 45 minutes of terrible
pain. So once I was up, I had this
agony.
Yeah.
So it's not like
yeah, totally.
With lots of
so I ended up with I had
parts of the day where you were actually out your nut enough that you could just about hold that you weren't screaming in agony. But that was because you were standing all day. But every time you had to sit down or lie down, you were up, and you were screaming in agony again. And
Yeah.
as a result, you're still not that good about sitting down because of the
No,
trauma.
I'm standing right now because I'm scared to sit for too long
let's
at all.
Let's talk about
I've
some
actually got
positives. Let's get to a
PTSD.
positive part of the story, which is obviously by this point, we've obviously decided that there's no way that 2 years is just not. It's not going to work. It's impossible for you to actually live like that for 2 years. So we're like, right, okay, let's just get into debt and get it on the private. Now, the private was saying 10 grand in Scotland, but they said it was going to be September, October time at best. And I think it was September. But once again, that was their projection. That was
it was like minimum 4 months, which I think took us into September. And maybe it wouldn't even have been, it just depended. Because there's not enough neurosurgeons in Scotland for the demand, that's what the reason is. So that's why the NHS list is so massive. And then it's the knock-on effect is obviously that the private list is as big as well, So
at that point, Donna, shouts to Donna and John who were helpful
totally.
at this point, because they also said what they first floated the idea of a crowdfunder. Now at that point, I just thought it was just let's just debt. I hadn't even thought about that much.
Yeah.
But we were thinking about it, and I didn't know whether to ask you for permission or not. And then the next minute, I get a link sent to me by Suze. Shouts to Suze, if you're watching. Suze set up the crowdfunder, and then it was incredible response from everybody.
Amazing, yeah.
And it
totally.
It nearly actually got to 10 grand. I think it was about nine grand, I think. And then plus we did the Lost album launch party, which was supposed to be Joe's chance to launch the Minerva Wakes album. Never got a launch, an album launch. And
Still not had it.
Live
we'll get there. Yeah.
So it was supposed to be a Twisted Minerva Wakes, but obviously now you understand why the Twisted Minerva Wakes could not be there. And not that I don't remember Joe ever cancelling a gig in my life before, but it was obviously.
No, I'm not a gig canceller at all.
Some people just cancel the gig at the first sign of anything wrong. Some people are lazy, or they just can't be asked.
Well, I did. I mean, anyone that kind of came to the Minerva Wakes shows and things, just in the run up, kind of between January, February, anyone that came to those shows that kind of that spoke to me will have heard me going on about my back. And there was a couple of them where I was really bad and just hobbling about, but I just did it anyway. So whether that was the right thing or not, I don't know.
What do you remember about the crowdfunder?
Well, I can remember. I remember Suze asking if that was okay to do that, if I was okay with that, and I was like, any help is, I don't know what. At that point, I just thought, I do not know what to do, and my brain was scrambled because I was taking all of those painkillers. This was when I was I in hospital in Kirkcaldy at this point, wasn't I? I think.
Yes,
I can't remember, or was I even in Glad? I don't know. I was in Kirkcaldy.
No,
I can't remember.
You're in Kirkcaldy because this was after Room 2. So you left
on the Friday night. The Gyro
Babies played by Mickey Nines at Room 2.
It's all a bit of a blur because I was so smashed. But I was just like, I don't even know. I couldn't work it out because I was so wasted, and I just was thinking I need to try and do something. I just don't know what. So Suze asked me if that was okay, and I was like, yeah. I mean, anything that can help, yes, please. And then. Yeah, she sent me the link to say that she'd done it, and then I don't think I looked at it again for a while because I just didn't think it would. I knew that obviously I hoped that it would get something, but I didn't expect that at all. So I don't know when I looked at it next, but it made quite a lot, and I was like, oh my god! I don't. It was actually really emotional in a weird way because it felt because of the way that I'd been kind of, I think I was pretty badly treated in the hospital in Glasgow, and then even though Kirkcaldy were good, I could tell they weren't going to help me. She was amazing. I can't, but Becky, I think, Becky, I think she was called. She was amazing and really good. But all the nurses in Kirkcaldy were just absolutely brilliant, and it just shows how much difference that you can make to people's lives doing that. Doing a good job. In those kind of roles, and I know it can't be easy, but yeah, like I felt, even though I felt like I was getting the best care that could be given basically in Kirkcaldy, I knew they weren't going to help me. I could tell that I wasn't going to get surgery that week or even that month. You know, I could tell they were just building up to get me out of there, and that's all they could really do. So I just felt so lost and so hopeless. And this is why I think it's dangerous leaving people in that kind of situation, thinking, you know, knowing that they're going to be like this for God knows how long, and full of all those drugs. Because I was lucky that I had a support network and many different levels that helped me. And that's what I'm saying about just seeing the so it wasn't so much about the money. Obviously I was thinking, oh my God, I'm maybe going to be able to get this done, but it was also that people cared, and that was something that really, really kept me going. And not just the crowdfunder, but the comments that people left in the crowdfunder, and also just people sending messages or putting comments on things on social media, and just all that kind of stuff just really, really helped. Not for me not to feel so isolated and alone with this, because it was horrific. So yeah, that's what I remember about the crowdfunder coming in, and yeah, I just can't believe it, and just yeah. Thank you. I should have said that right at the start of the show. Anybody that helped,
that
anybody
was a spoiler alert. That would have spoiled the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Just. Oh God. I mean, I've spoken to a few people that helped out in different ways, and already. But you know, if I've not spoken to you or I've not, just thank you. That's all I can say. Just, I mean, I do not know what would have happened to me if I'd had to be in bed. Or, you know, I mean, maybe I'd have been able to hobble about on crutches. I wouldn't have been able to get up, and I don't know. See, when I start going down that, I mean, it doesn't matter in some sense, although it does matter because there's other people in that situation, and I just can't cope with the idea of other people having to be like that, and
you've got this musician's privilege here, because obviously loads of people know you, because
you know
from the Twistettes, they know you from the Nervous Gyro Babies.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's
not a normal response that everybody would get.
No, because it really was an effort from the obviously I've got you know, people that are my friends that contributed to it as well, but they're, you know, so a lot of people are my friends, but also it's this kind of wider reach of like the music scene in general, or you know, like people from the Scottish music scene, people from across the UK, like predominantly within the kind of punky kind of female music scenes that Twistettes kind of play in. Lots of people, you know, that have come that I know and are you know, I chat to and stuff, but you know, live at the other end of the country, and were helping me and kind of sending messages, and just it just shows the power of community in general. I suppose my community is the music community, but yeah, the power of community. So overall, I think the story is one that's quite heartwarming and positive about the power of people, and the power of good, and for people to that people are good and people do want to help each other. And you know, yeah, it's a overall story. Overall, what am I trying to say? The overall story is one of power, I guess. Power, but I feel that shouldn't have been the place of. It shouldn't have to be down to crowdfunders for people to get the care that they need. Because if you think of it, in my situation, it's so that operation was £10,000, but if I'd have had to go on to I don't know what it's called now. Is it still ESA? I don't know. Whatever disability kind of benefits, and you know, losing all my work, and maybe would have had to get a carer, although I doubt they'd have gave me it, even though I would have needed it. But do you know, like if I'd had to go down that route for 2 years, maybe more, even if like some people that we know that work in NHS were kind of thinking, do you know, that's probably an optimistic view that she's giving you there. So 2 or 3 years of that. Then what state would I have been after the operation? Would I have recovered? How would it, do you know? So you're maybe talking, I don't know, years of maybe forever on disability, how much does that cost compared to 10 grand to get my surgery done and get me back on my feet? And then, even looking at it in a purely, that kind of Tory kind of way, where it's like, get her back in the workforce or whatever, that kind of horrible view that a lot of people that vote Tory might have. But even within that logic, it makes sense, to...
Even the amount of drugs you'd be on.
I know, yeah. Considering what God knows what NHS pay for their drugs anyway, triple the price of...
It's not like 20 quid for a packet of paracetamol.
And ibuprofen, I know, that's probably... I mean, I think that might be... That's not
stuff.
True either, but...
Well,
but I mean, it wasn't... And I don't know how... anyway, so even from a financial basis, it just... Looking at it from that kind of... If you take out anything about it being inhumane and treating people terribly and having people living in misery and all that stuff that I care about for people. But I know that, the guys down in Westminster maybe don't give too much of a crap about, but even breaking it down, that's why they established the NHS, so that they had a healthy workforce. Although my theory on this is that the reason that they're not so bothered now is that because our jobs are so based around computers and things like that, how many healthy, able-bodied people do you need? I mean, I'm sure they could have probably doped me up with enough drugs and had me doing something on a headset or something like that, and maybe I don't know. Again, I'm cynical and probably right.
If any politicians are serious about it, like Starmer doesn't seem serious about it, but
no,
there's going to be a million of these stories happening just now with the COVID backlog going on.
Yeah, so, and I mean, hopefully there is true that this is just because that maybe I've just had the worst experience, had this experience at the worst time where the NHS is overrun by COVID that but I mean I worry that this was always my worry about COVID, is that there would be changes and made that took us back a step or 5 or 50 under the guise of COVID. And I think
Scottish politicians that are serious about independence, then I think that it's got to be on the platform that this needs to get solved now, because sadly I don't think this is going to be the first crowdfunder you're going to see happening anytime soon. I think there's going to be a lot more of these, and I think look at your timing. Although it was terrible timing, it might have been more fortunate than it happening 6 months or a year down the line, once people who are struggling enough with the cost of living crisis and gets even worse, and then there's just going to be more and more of these. So I know you've been. I mean, there's been a few of my friends. I'm not going to name them, but I know that they're interested in taking this further. Yeah. And what is your plans to? Because you're not stopping. You're not giving up on this.
No, because
you're not out of the woods yet either. By the way, just
no.
We'll maybe go back to. London. Let's just go back to the story, and then we'll talk about that at the end of what is next, because there is plans for what is coming next. But you went to London because, so obviously the crowdfunder, I think, once it started reaching something like 5 or 6, and it was like, right, let's do this. We can't wait till September, October. There was a guy in London who said, come down for a checkup, the cancellation, and you had to stay in London for 4 days. And let's go back to that. What do you remember about London? And London.
I was lucky that, so obviously when I realised that even to get it privately here, when I realised I had, a good chunk of the money, I thought I will be able to make, I need to make this work. So I phoned around the private ones in Scotland, all of them saying the same thing, kind of it's going to take ages as well. So then I started phoning around London. I found this place that does day surgery. So basically you don't stay in overnight. So it meant that it was affordable for me to get it done there. It was the same price basically as it would have been in Scotland with a stay, but obviously in London everything is more expensive. So I found this place. The guy said he could fit me in for like a Zoom consultation for spinal surgery. And it was really funny because I can remember before this consultation looking on Trustpilot about his reviews for it. And I was just like, what is this? I'm looking about
Trip
a
hazard
review
advisor.
about, I know, isn't it? It's just like, oh my God, one Trustpilot about spinal surgery. What is happening? And I was still so wasted.
And it's
I was
probably,
just
it could be,
like,
the thing
what's
is you
going on?
you can pay for likes, you can pay for views. I see all these musicians, they pay for likes and views and 5 stars on your shite
I know,
takeaways.
but I had to just, anyway. So, but I had my consultation with him, and he was like, I've actually got a cancellation next week, but is that too soon if you're coming from Scotland? I was like, no. I mean, I would literally have started crawling at that point and just crawled to London to do it, if that's what I'd had to do, because it was so bad. So yeah, I just did it, and yeah, I had to. It was still all very complicated because like still having to kind of make up money and just like borrow money off of people, and just I mean, it's not how you want to. It's not, if you're as ill as that, it's just not really. It isn't ideal. And again, I did have support, but and also I'm okay. That's actually, as you know, Mark, I love to hunt for the cheapest holidays and things like that, only because I can never afford expensive holidays. So I always like to get the good things for cheap. So I'm quite a researcher. I don't mind doing that normally. So, but again, these are the things that wouldn't. There's so many layers of privilege to why I was able to access this, if you know what I mean. And even 1 or 2 of them taken away, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So it's just to again highlight that again. But yeah, so I booked this thing in London, and I needed to have bloods and an ECG and stuff like that all taken about 3 days before the operation, and again, I asked the NHS, can you help me get these things? I'm going to go and pay for my own operation and just need these things so that I could not have to go to London for 4 days. Because again, more money to get a hotel, and anyway, so they wouldn't do it though. It was just like absolutely pulling teeth, and we just decided to. Then I was going to try and get it done privately, but you had to go all different places. It was just so stressful that we just decided that we would just have to go to London and stay in a hotel for a couple of days before it to get it done. So I had to do that. So that was the extra kind of costs there that kind of weren't expected, was having to stay in a hotel for like 3, or was it 4 nights it would have been, because yeah, it's so hazy because I was so wasted. But so I had to do that, and we got the train down and then the train back up. I got the train back up the day after I'd had the surgery, which was pretty monstrous, again, to be honest. But I'm actually quite glad that I did do that though, because the day after that I was sorer, because I still, the anaesthetic was still kind of working on my back the day that I travelled. So I think it would have been a much more treacherous journey the following day. However, it makes my teeth go actually to think about doing that journey like that. But I mean, again, I was just absolutely doped up to the eyeballs though, and taking everything that I possibly could throw at it. And the other thing in London, I forgot that I ended up in hospital again in London, didn't I? I forgot about that. But just because my tolerance to the drugs was coming down, and I just couldn't keep on top of the pain. So yeah, I had to go back to the hospital in London, which was pretty rubbish as well. But I was just in A&E, they were just keeping me there, I think, really, because they knew I was getting the surgery the next day. So yeah, so that happened as well. But
sorry, Joe,
I don't know.
I just want to do a quick shout out to Thomas Ray and all the artists who supported the Joe D'Arc back-to-back compilation. Which, as you can see, Twisted, Gyro Babies, Mickey Nines, Bomb Scare, Goddy Duncan Jr., Anna Secret Poet, Colin Mustard and the Dijon 5, Rebecca Radical, Astronomic, Minerva Wakes, Jackal Trades, and Minerva Wakes as well. So there's still a couple. These CDs are going to print this week, so this is your last chance to get a limited edition copy. Joe is still very much out of pocket because there was a lot of unexpected costs. It's not the crowdfund didn't quite cover it all, but we're grateful, and Joe's grateful that it covered the majority of it. But if you do want a CD, this is the last chance because it is a one-off print, and it's going out this week. So if I put the link in the comments, if you want a CD or you just want a digital download of that cracking lineup of acts. And shout out to all the bands in it. And shout out to Tom S. Ray.
Yeah, I should say thanks to Tom, to all the bands, and also to people that have bought CDs as well, because that did help a lot as well. And again, I was talking about the crowdfunder earlier, but there is obviously the CDs, and anybody that contributed at the gig, the lockdown. What was it called again? The Lost Album launch. Yeah. So you guys, everybody that contributed there as well. I just kind of focused on the crowdfunder earlier, but yeah, again, just massive thanks to kind of, yeah, thank you for helping out. And yeah, I mean, there's thank you.
Before we go to what is next, because we're about to go into that and what is the plan of action, which there is a plan, where let's just talk briefly about down the rabbit hole last weekend, because it was going to be your first comeback gig. Well, I didn't even know. Che's tuned in. Shout out to Che for sticking with Joe Jive.
Hi, Che.
Che was booking you for your first gig back, and then there was a power cut.
I know.
Right before Joe made her comeback, because obviously at this stage Joe is not allowed, even if she wanted to, she's not allowed a bass guitar yet, because the Twist Dates and Gyro Babies is quite rocking, and you shouldn't have a bass guitar around your neck at this stage, because you're still not out of the woods yet. You've still got another couple of weeks of recovery, and you still can't do certain things. But but let's talk about Down the Rabbit Hole. What was your experience of Down the Rabbit Hole? You nearly played with Joe Jive, you did backing vocals with Gyro Babies, you jumped over a song with Jackal Trades, and then you did do a short set of Minerva Wakes, although albeit a different way than you would normally have done it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just great to be there, and you know, it was fine. It was fine not doing Joe Jive. I kept saying to everyone, it is, you know, I'm happy to just be here, to be able to walk about, and like that is the level I'm functioning on at the moment, and I hope that I keep that as well. I hope I remember that leveling, that kind of level of gratitude for everything, because it's easy to forget that when you're you know, buzzing about your life and, you know, getting frustrated with things, as human and natural to do. But you know, actually it's as simple as that, you know, that it could be loads worse. So but yeah, no, it was cool. It would have been cool to do the Joe Jive set, but equally I just enjoyed being there. It was all good. I watched Tim Burgess after. It wouldn't really have been fair to keep Tim Burgess waiting. I don't think it would have been very cool.
What was he like? What was Tim Burgess like when you had a chat with him?
I mean, I didn't have a long chat. I just he seemed nice though, and I think Diamond and that said he was sound, quite a down to earth guy. So I've heard that off other people as well, actually, that he's quite nice. So yeah, but no, it was great just being there, because that felt like a lot. Because I know that it seems quite varied how people recover from this operation. Because I know I've spoken to some people, Nikki being one of them. She's had a slightly different operation that actually, when I read about it, looks like that needs a longer recovery time. Anyway, she thinks she was back drumming after about 3 or 4 weeks. That's what she says happened. But I can't remember exactly. I'm like, really, Nikki? But
and what about Jason?
Jason as well. He was back gardening after 3 weeks. Yeah,
he was doing gardening stuff after a couple of weeks, and also
like
the best part about Jason's one is he got operated on by a fraud doctor who turned out to be a real doctor. The guy's in jail
the Dundee guy.
He's in jail now, and he was a fraud doctor, but he did a good job in Jason's back.
Yeah,
so
Jason's like, he was great.
He was a good guy, a good egg. Eppie's made a good point. A Scot at the A&E in London looking for pain meds. That would be a rarity.
Do you know? I actually think that was an element of it, and I'd actually turned up with my big Sainsbury's bag of like, I had this big like orange bag full of all the drugs that I was taking. So you would have thought they'd have been like, well, surely she's got enough there to do her. But I think it's because I ran out of the morphine pretty much. I didn't have much morphine left. I honestly do think there was an element of that where they were not believing me, and about, you know, they thought I was wanting. Back
to doing the rabbit hole though. You're in the sunshine. You're a solar powered lady, and because it was sunny all weekend, you seem to have had a good week after that.
It was good, and just seeing people and you know, not being as sore. I mean, I still am sore, and I still have flare-ups. I did have a bit of a flare on Saturday that scared me a little bit, and where I got a bit more. Not on Saturday doing the rabbit hole, just Saturday there, as you know. But that did scare me a little bit, and it just reminded me I need to really take my time, because it doesn't matter if other people heal up quicker than me. I just need to go at my own pace with it, and not kind of try to go too fast. But yeah, that flare from Saturday is starting to settle down now, so I'm hoping that was just a little blip, because apparently, as your nerve, because my nerve was compressed for quite a long time over years, it can take quite a while for your nerve to heal and not to kind of feel the pain anymore. But yeah, but doing the rabbit hole was absolutely amazing. I just had such a good time. I mean, I wasn't staying on site. My friend Leslie, shouts out to Leslie,
out to Leslie.
Who let us use her house. So I wouldn't have drank anyway, because I was worried I would fall. I fall at the best of times, especially at a festival. It's very bumpy. I'm very clumsy. I'm usually quite pissed. So that combination means, you know, I wasn't going to have a drink, and I really was trying to look at where I was going and not fall over. Because one of the things they tell you in hospital is you really need to try not to fall over. And I'm like, oh my God, I fall over a lot. Like, it's not, or trip or bang into things, you know. I'm quite like, I don't know, maybe I'm dyspraxic. I've got dyslexia anyway, so I think there might be a chance that that's what's going on. But anyway, I'm very clumsy and I fall over a lot. So yeah, at Dune, I was really kind of just driving in and out. But yeah, I got to see a bunch of stuff, a bunch of people. The sun was out. The lineup was amazing. I didn't get to see half the things I would have liked to, because I just was too slow and I couldn't do all the walking about, because, you know, well, I could have, but I might have made myself sore. So I did, but I did, it was great. Just good to see everybody.
Joe's made a good point. I know you're standing on here tonight. Do you need to walk around in case you seize up? How's standing?
Do you know what? I think
you've done your 20,000 steps today.
No, 10,000. But like,
Leslie says, anytime, pleasure to have you. And Leslie, you're on the guest list of Gallus Adventures this Saturday, which, if Joe is well enough, Joe is going to do a Joe Jive set.
Yeah.
I've decided that you're not well enough to play with the gyros unless it's backing vocals again. But you're well enough to maybe play a few Joe Jive tunes. So hopefully, we're about to announce the lineup for that right now. I'm just waiting on Hamish tweaking a couple of names. We're going to announce Gallus Adventures, which is this Saturday, the 30th of July. It's my birthday. It was actually my birthday on Thursday at the Atlas Works gig at Block. So if you can make it down to that, that'd be great. I'll put that up on the screen. So now it's Becky Wallace, who I believe's in the comments. I'm going to read out some of the comments just now while we're waiting on it. More Famish releasing the lineup, but this is Thursday night. It's Becky Wallace, Jackal Trades, Big Shamu, emceed by Glesgadelic and the Atlas Works crew. Come along, 9 o'clock kickoff. It's actually my birthday on Thursday, so it'd be great to see people down there. And then on Saturday, we have the Gallus Adventures, which I believe if you're really quick, you'll get it for £20, because I've not changed it yet, but I'm actually going to change that in the next 5 minutes. So you can get it for £20. You've got all night buses from either Glasgow or Edinburgh on the hour every hour, so you don't need to camp if you don't want to camp. But if you do want to camp, bring a tent and sleep under the stars. If you've got a vehicle, you really need to DM me, because we've got limited parking in the actual festival site. We do have parking nearby, but you might need to pay for that. So if you're wanting free parking with a living vehicle, get in touch ASAP. Happy birthday, thank you. It's not yet. It'll be Thursday's my birthday. Janine's in the house. Hello, Janine.
Hey, Janine.
We've got Tim is a lovely guy. Well, I met him briefly once before as well, but I was drunk. Having spoke to my heroes before when I was drunk, I usually just say, I really enjoyed that gig, or I really enjoyed that new album, and then let them go about their business. Epi says, virtual operation. Bzz, I think that was referring to your Zoom call.
I know, it's such a weird thing, isn't it? Just like a Zoom call to arrange something like that. Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
And
sorry, what was that?
Jigsaw Tiger's actually made a good point in that. The NHS was already seriously underfunded before the pandemic. It's now been used as a convenient excuse for bad practice. I agree with that 100%. It's It's been
It must be so frustrating working in that as well, though. Do you know, not to, I'm going to sit down actually, but yeah, not to kind of blame, you know, it's about not kind of putting blame on the people doing the work, you know, because I think that it's just, you know, it's not their fault that people are trying their best within a horrible situation where they don't have enough money to do their job. And like, you know, I just can't imagine. I can understand why there's people leaving that job, like left, right, and centre. Do you know what I mean? It's
Becky
yeah.
Wallace makes a good point. Totally, we used to get shocked seeing Americans having to crowdfund for treatment. Now it's the same
Yeah,
here too.
totally.
And that is actually the situation now. And I can't believe it's happening here either. But I think it's unless something changes drastically, it's going to be happening more and more common, sadly. And remember,
Yeah.
check out Becky Wallace live at Block on Thursday alongside her cousins. Free entry, 9 o'clock. Moan out, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
Hugh
But
Reid
I
saying,
oh,
sorry, I'm just going to go through a couple of comments. Try to read a few out, Joe, and then
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
you're
maybe
good.
just do it. Do a wee. Hugh Reid says, lovely to see Joe looking so well. Long may it continue, and happy birthday, Mark, when it comes. Thank you, Hugh. Hugh Reid did a great set last week at the Tum Tum Tree at Down the Rabbit Hole. And thanks to everybody who played the Tum Tum Tree or came out. It was an amazing weekend. It was a lot of work, but I think it was a cracking music festival. It might not win Lovely Lou's Festival of the Year, but it definitely won the music festival thing for me. And it was I had a great time. Well, I didn't. I was working, but I seen many people have a good time, and all the music that I did see was incredible. We've got some more comments. Lou saying, the horror story with a wholesome ending. So glad you're on the mend, but sorry for the crap you had to go through to get there, says Lou.
Thank you, Lou.
Kenny says, so good to see you looking and healing well, Joe. Love KNC.
No.
Ellen says, sorry you had to go through such a rough time, Joe. Really great to see you getting back to health and out and about.
Thank you.
We got the charity Help Musicians UK helped me financially when I had a tonsillectomy. Just putting that out there for any musicians facing loss of income due to illness or recovery. And that is something that we
That's
just didn't have time to
interesting.
look at. I did send you a link to it, but
No bother.
and going back to the crowdfunder, Mima Mero says it felt great to be able to do something practical for you at that time. Being unable to operate on your back or do anything practical. Yeah, Dr. Mima.
Yeah.
Oh, I did think I was like, if this guy's charging 10 grand for an hour's work, because he said it's pretty a straightforward operation. Just like, well, if it's straightforward and you're charging 10 grand for an hour, maybe I could just learn how to become a spinal surgeon. How long
Just
would
like that.
take?
Just
like
in,
that.
on the weekend.
Mary says back pain is the worst, Joe. I'm so sorry about your awful experiences. And Alan Gray, the polar bear, says, yeah, I've came across some really stuck up, grumpy, passive aggressive nurses. Then the shift changes and the next nurse is so kind and helpful and understanding. It's really night and day sometimes. And
Yeah.
Joe Buchanan saying, sorry, continue.
No, I was just going to say most of the nurses that I had were great, you know, really good. And that's, you know, even dealing with, you know, me being like screaming my head off in agony and stuff like that, and probably swearing because that's what I do. but but yeah, no, they were really good. Where, you know, so there's only that one nurse, and then there was a couple down in London, but you know, and they were obviously they're A&E nurses, so I don't think it's quite the same because they've got a different set of circumstances they're working under. So I didn't really, you know, they still treated me like not very good at all, you know. But and then there was a doctor in Kirkcaldy that wasn't great as well. I thought it was pretty shitty, just the way that he spoke to me. But again, it was not the same as that first nurse. I think she was actually just didn't do her job properly, and it's not good enough. And I could see the way she was like the head nurse. I could see like, the way she was treating the other nurses and things as well. She was just haranguing. But
they always say that, and with customer service, that one bad customer service. This was, you know, for anything. One complaint, one upset customer will tell 5 or 10 people, while somebody who's had good customer service might tell 1 or 2. So it's such a shame when you get one bad person bringing it down, because like you said, the majority of the staff you work with were helpful. And Okay, I think we're ready to announce the lineup for Gallus Adventures, guys. I'm going to give you till the end of this show to get your tickets for £20 instead of... if you're a patron, by the way, you'll get a wee bit longer because I'm going to send you a 50% discount code. So you'll get it for £20 even if you buy it tomorrow. But this is the link for Gallus Adventures. It's giantbabies.bandcamp.com/... Just click that link to get a ticket for only £20. When this show finishes, and if you're not a patron, it will go up to £30. It's easy to get to from Glasgow or Edinburgh. There's buses all night, on the hour, every hour. And it's going to go up to £30 as soon as this show finishes. So click that link now. This is the lineup, I think. Let me just double check. Is that the lineup? Yes, that is the actual lineup. Okay. So Gallus Adventures, the Tum Tum Tree stage is back. It's going to be outside the secret location. It's Atlas Works who are hosting the gig on Thursday. They're going to be doing a showcase of a bunch of MCs. We've got Eric and Freel. We've got Flo as the Horseman. Full band from them. Hawaii 5-0. The Gyro Maybes. That is based on the health of our various members who are in different arrays of injury at the moment. The Gyros will be playing in some way. Gyro Babies will play. Just we're using the name Gyro Maybes because we're not sure in what way we'll be playing. We've got How Do Been. We've got John Zip from the legendary Zips band. He's going to be doing a set. Lady Jesus, Nasty Nesto and the Sad Boys, Peter A, Rebecca Radical. I don't know if she's actually... Rebecca Radical is going to be bringing her band, The Absolute Right, so it's just herself, but Rebecca will be there. Shelto Mel will be there. Time Gypsy will be there, and Two Dead Thatchers will also be there. And that's on the Tum Tum Tree stage. The running order will be announced on Friday. And this is all for Saturday the 30th. We also have the Big Ideas Barn, a second stage full of electronic music. We've got Al the Chemist. We've got Birdie. We've got Chris. We hopefully have got Joe Jive and the Beehive 5 if there's no power cuts. We've got Kenny Mulligan, More Famous. I think that's featuring Jackal Trades as well. Unholy Frankenstein, who's the legendary Chris Beattie and the legendary Joe Bone, who were incredible at the Tum Tum Tree, and I think they're going to be an excellent way to start off the electronic music in the barn. And Wonksy. And there's a couple more to be announced as well that aren't on this lineup. But check that out. Check that out. And that's all for 20 quid if you're quick and you go right now. 2 stages, a barbecue, bring your own bottle. It's camping is optional. You can either get a bus there and back all night long, on the hour every hour, because it's on the Glasgow to Edinburgh line, bus line, so you can get a bus on the hour every hour if you just want to tap out at 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning. Whatever time you need to go home, you can go home at any time. We're not sending
all
you
the
a
time
field in the middle of Dumfries and Galloway. You know, I mean, that's what most festivals you need to drive for 3 hours to Dumfries and Galloway or something. No, you can get there, no bother, from Glasgow to Edinburgh, anytime you want. Or bring a tent and you can camp under the stars for 20 quid if you're quick right now, or 30 quid if you wait half an hour. Then it's going to go up. If you're a patron, if you support this show, either as a YouTube member or as a patron at patreon.com/ you call that radio, we're going to give you a 50% discount code, so you will still get it for £20 rather than 30. So that's because you are the key workers that's kept this show alive for a long time now. It wouldn't be possible without you. So Wonksy is awesome. Clowncore, says Ian.
Yeah.
Woohoo. John Zip.
She is great. I'm excited
musician.
about that one.
Yes,
Yeah.
John Zip is a legend. I'm buzzing to get him. We actually bumped into him at the gig that I did for I did a live Q&A with Gordon Raphael recently, just before Transmit. That footage is coming soon. Tum Tum Tree is the place to be, says Lou. Good to see you, Joe. Glad you eventually got that up. You so needed. Look forward to seeing you play again.
Oh, thanks, Liz.
Love that Gyro Maybes. We will be playing in some way, you know, even if it's just me and a tambourine. No, we've got a few band members. Mark, we've got a few plan Bs and plan Cs for that. Oh man, I wish I'd come, but I'm back on COVID recovery. Looks like it's going to be a blast. Oh my goodness. Jigsaw Tiger.
Oh no.
Round 3. You've been through the mill as well. Shouts to Jigsaw Tiger.
And I missed your gig as well. That was that happened
Well,
when
it
you
was
were
actually a
able
DJ
to.
gig. It wasn't actually a Jigsaw Tiger gig. It was still brilliant.
Yeah, I
But,
know, but still, it's I was gutted to miss that.
and I
But
think
anyway,
she got
hopefully
COVID at
soon.
it. And I missed a lot of it as well because Big Al, he had to go to hospital as well.
He said, "Aye, God, shame." But
Kirsty says, great to see you out and about, Joe.
thank
So what
you.
age will you be, Mark? 21. Well, if he's come to block on Thursday, I'll tell you my age. It's free entry. Or if he's got to Galaxy Adventures, I'll reveal my age there. Mark Calvert says, healing bridges. Divine in the house. Richard says, great to see you up and about, Joe. I was wondering how you were doing just this morning. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to see a consultant about my own disc injury just now. There is nothing.
Oh
worse.
no, sorry to hear that. It's just, honestly, yeah. I mean, I feel like there needs to be something done, and I'm really conscious that I don't want to be coming down as, pointing out the deficit in the NHS and give fuel to the fire that, just says we need to have private healthcare alongside the NHS, which I think is the direction our government is definitely in Westminster anyway. I don't know about the Scottish government, but don't know. But that seems to be the route that they're trying to go down. But I mean, it isn't good enough. And I think our NHS is one of the reasons why, it makes us rich, because we look after people, and the wider sense of the word rich. And I just think there is enough money in this country to make sure people aren't in this state. My fear is that things like, if you're in chronic pain, there's probably a job that you can do sat down somewhere, doped up to your eyeballs, and that's what the government are thinking. They need as healthy a workforce as they did when they needed people doing industrial heavy work? Do they need as healthy a population when warfare is carried out using drones and computers and things like that to conduct a lot of the fighting now? So they don't maybe need as many healthy men to go and fight war? Which is, I mean, they are the two reasons why they started the NHS. Obviously there was a humanitarian element to it, but really, they did it for that. Those reasons were the things that got it kind of widely accepted as being a good idea. And I don't know whether those two aspects are as strong.
Well, I mean, as
pull
you say,
for
the
powerful, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that our voices can't be heard and that our voices can't challenge that. It's just that's why I think that that there's less and less emphasis being put on it. But what my initial thoughts are, if anyone has any thoughts on how maybe to approach it, or how to look at kind of challenging it in any kind of bigger way, or if anyone is aware of any websites, charities, Facebook pages, whatever, that are maybe doing something like collating stories, because that was my idea that I had, was maybe to kind of pull together everybody's story, because this has been relatively well, that it's been publicised that what's been going on with me. Lots of people have been messaging me and speaking to me and saying, oh, this happened to me, this happened to my mum, this happened to my sister. It's absolutely everywhere. And I know that we all know that, because everybody probably has at least one person, probably more, within their social group or their family that's dealing with something that's just not really, it's not acceptable, it's not right. And again, it's not to say it's because the staff in the NHS are bad, or they are, evil, or there's a deliberate kind of conspiracy in any way. At least not at the kind of the people delivering the services. But I think that government and NHS managers needs to really have they really need to be challenged. They need to be challenged. And I don't know, I mean, I'm going to, about my personal experience, I'm going to write to the hospital directly that I'm going to write directly to them. And I'm also going to write to my MSP and my MP about my own experience, but I feel like that is not enough, because just, you know, it's power in numbers, and so many people are just having these same experiences. So if obviously my advice would be for everyone to do that as well, to individually write to your MSP or your both your MPs, and to complain wherever you can about what's going on. But I also feel like maybe something of a collective effort.
Send a message in. We're going to be doing an actual special on it with a panel of friends who have had bad experiences. We're going to get everyone on here, and we're going to talk about how to do this, because you know, there's probably newspapers that would pick up on it because they like the fact that the NHS is getting slagged, so that the more private companies can come in. Because I mean, that's the angle here. Underfund the NHS. People complain about the NHS, and then they can sneak more private companies in here, and you know that long term that's not going to be good. You know, it's the same.
And I mean, they're already building a massive new private hospital over in Edinburgh. You know, so the private healthcare industry are gearing up and are investing millions of pounds, because they think or they know that this is the direction that we're moving towards. I suppose a hybrid system of some sort, but what that means, I do not know. I mean, it's not. It's not right. It shouldn't be happening at all. You know.
This is not over. This is not over.
I mean, I don't know whether, you know, I just feel it's not good enough for me to be like, oh, well, you know, I'm fine. Not that I am fine. I mean, I've still really got like quite a bit of time. You know, it's not an instant fix, and I'm doing okay so far, but, you know, there is a bigger journey to go on. So I don't want to be like, touch wood, I don't want to be saying I'm fine, because I'm not necessarily, I'm fine so far. But as I get my kind of brain back a little bit and my energy back a little bit, I still feel it's not okay for me just to leave it at all. That's fine. People paid for me to have an operation when I couldn't afford it myself, and I'm all right. I'll just go back to my life and just like crack on. I just don't feel that's okay when there's thousands and thousands of people probably sitting in the same, if not worse, conditions than what I was in. For years at a time. I mean, I'd be interested to see what the suicide rates are and people that are being left in these queues, things like that. You know, I feel like there is.
I mean, that's a very good point, because it's like you don't get, because for things like suicide, it's normally a case of the family wants their privacy respected quite naturally, so it's not like a thing. It's not really publicised why or what happened.
I mean, that is some of the things that I've been thinking about, you know, like what is the correlation between that? I don't know if you could even work it out, because I don't know. Are physiotherapists, is there anybody that is looking at the link between that? Maybe there is, maybe not. I don't know. Are physiotherapists take it, or because they would be the people seeing them, wouldn't they? So are they taking a note and saying, oh, actually, another one of my patients is now. But the other thing as well is addictions as well, because, you know, I would have been addicted to morphine, but quite really addicted to morphine by the time I got my, you know, I'd have been 3 years down the line, but 2 3 years down the line into taking it regularly. So where does that, you know, and it makes me wonder, you know, how many people end up in a bad way with their drug use as well, because of chronic pain and because they've been left in the system. You know, with this idea that you know, if it's not life-threatening, it can wait, you know, and it's just this I think a discussion around about pain in general and how dangerous that is, you know, how dangerous are taking. I mean, those amount of drugs that I was taking, I mean, I wasn't safe. I don't feel I was safe at all to be out walking about in the world. Not safe from myself, and just not safe in general. And I can't remember stuff. I was just walking about like an absolute zombie. People could have taken advantage of me so badly if I didn't have the support network that I do. So again, that's like a layer of privilege that, you know, at the age I'm at, it's not a given by any means that you can go and stay with your parents for a few weeks. You know, again, very lucky about a specific set of circumstances, you know, things, it's just not, you know, yeah, that's all. That's what I've got to say.
Well,
Is that I'm aware of my privilege in the situation, and I know that other people aren't in the position to be able to do what I did. You know, it's not because I'm special; it's because I'm in a situation where I could do that. You know,
there's a bit of luck involved, but also it's because of how much joy you've brought to people through your music and just by being sound, and lots of people remember that. But also, yeah, you got lucky that you know so many lovely people, and thanks to everybody. Here's Ian. Speaking of lovely people, here's Ian. Hi Mark, hi Joe. Harrowing to hear what you went through. Delighted you're smiling. Love. It has been horrific. It's been a horrific year. So it's hopefully going to be better. This year's going to be better. Peter A says, glad to see your recovery is going so well, Joe. I'm heading to the wee gathering on Thursday, so won't see you on your birthday, Mark, but we'll hope to see you on your 30th for belated wishes. On my 30th. on the 30th. Oh, don't give away my age. Don't give away that I'm 30. Fuck's sake. So that's on the 30th. Yeah, Peter's going to be doing some poems at Gallus Adventures, so we'll see you there, Peter. Love heart for the legend Danny. I met Danny for a coffee the other day, and before I knew it, I was on a bike ride to the Gal Gale, where I heard interesting stories of the Birdman of Pollock, and amazing to hear the stories from the Pollock Free State. They do amazing work in the Gal Gale. Victoria McNulty was there. She's working on a thing that I'm sure will be amazing. So Stuart Graham says, have a great birthday, Mark. Loved Down the Rabbit Hole. Not loved waiting in the RAC, broke down on the bypass. Oh, sorry to hear that, man. Not really our fault, that one. I thought I was going to complain about something that. By the way, it wasn't all our fault. Down the rabbit hole. There was a couple of cues and stuff. A lot of this stuff is we can't talk about it right now, but there was some stuff that happened that it's not my place to say. But let's put it this way. See, as you can see from a lot of the festivals happening just now, post-Brexit, post-pandemic, things are really tough. The price of everything's went up. And there's things that I can't talk about, but things are difficult to put on a festival. Shout outs to all the Down the Rabbit Hole crew who did amazing work. And once again, underpaid and overworked. And through no fault of their own. So shout outs to all the Down the Rabbit Hole crew, right from all the crew, right from the very top to the bottom. Elizabeth saying, good to see you. Glad to see the op. Looking forward to seeing you playing again. I think I read that one already, but thanks, Elizabeth. And we've just got a couple more times. There are tons of nurses left NHS during lockdown all over the UK as they can see what's happening within and trying to create an alternative health network as they can see the collapse that's coming. I can link you to them. Keep shining, says Bri.
Yeah.
Bri put on a really good gig at Glasgow Green. I mean, it did get a wee bit anti-vaxxy at one point. I think I accidentally played an anti-vaxxer rally. Bri just said it was a people's gig to heal. And it was a nice environment. And it was great to hear lots of different opinions on different things. And it was a lovely crowd. And also, if anyone's aware of the drama that I caused, I think we've sorted that out. I'm not going to mention the guy. But if you're watching, mate, that's it. We're quits. It was an eye for an eye, and that's it over, as far as I'm concerned. And I hope you enjoyed your tenner refund that I gave you. Ember Quine says, so glad to see you doing things and saying words. Experience is significance. Sharing experience just as significant. Shouts to Ember Quine. Totally, everyone's getting shafted by the underfunded system. Workers are miserable, and we all wait. Top blobs just hope we'll run out of steam. Keep up the dialogue, the more the better. If anyone has a story or any ideas, please do get in touch. We're doing a proper show about this with some more people as well.
Yeah. Because it would be good, even if there's anyone that's, kind of got, I don't know, just any suggestions, any experience with dealing with kind of this kind of thing. I know some people that do that I want to speak to, and once I still want to, be a little bit further on my way to recovery before chucking all my energy into this kind of thing. But I'm just kind of starting to feel it out, and just, again, there may already be things that exist, and if that's the case, that's great, because I would just like to link up with them and maybe support some people that I know to, to kind of get involved with that in some way. But if there isn't something that already exists that is doing some kind of story sharing, collective experience kind of thing, then I think that maybe something like that, maybe there's a better thing to do. I don't know. Suggestions welcome. I just feel like I need to do something, whatever that may be, you know.
Tracy's looking into it. She's been looking to find a group to help challenge issues within the NHS. Power numbers is the way. And well said, Joe. Hit the nail on the head. Dick Justice says, Gunga Galunga. Shouts to the wise goldfish. Al says, have a wonderful birthday, Mark. I'm away fishing and spending time with family. Thanks for the invite, guys. Have a blast. Get back to 100% in your own time, Joe. You know what you're doing. Much love. And I hope you get back on the men soon as well, mate. Richard says it needs more money. It also needs to be better organised and the money better spent. But ultimately, more tax income has to go there. Instead of billionaires going into space, you know, maybe actually play that song. Maybe play that song at the end. Anything else quickly? I've got my Wheels of Fleet t-shirt on just now, Danny. Still planning to head down your way for a cycle at some point. Yes, welcome back, Joe says. Jam of CCTV. There might be a slot for CCTV if you want to come to Gallus Adventures. One more shout for Gallus Adventures. This is your last chance to get your tickets on the cheap. Gallus Adventures this Saturday. And you'll get a ticket, including camping, for only £20. The link is here in the comments. If you are on Facebook or Twitch watching us, go to YouTube. It sounds better and it looks better. And remember, if you are watching on YouTube, to hit that big red subscribe button. This is the lineup. We've got 2 stages, a barbecue. We kick off at 12 o'clock in the day this Saturday, and it'll go into the wee hours. You can get a bus home any time you want. We've got an hourly bus system going on. And it's a cracking lineup. And I'm excited for that. This, on Thursday, Becky Wallace, Jackal Trades, Big Shamu at Block. You can still buy the Twistettes compilation album to get, because obviously Joe's still heavily out of pocket, although nowhere near as much in debt as would have been if it wasn't for the amazing support of all the crowdfunders out there. You truly are the key workers. You are amazing. Good words, Joe. You call that radio looks like a good place to start the necessary revolution. Well, we'll give it a shot. Might as well give it a shot.
I think you can only try, can't you? Is it, you know, you can try.
I think the fact that Scottish independence could be a thing is maybe a good way to try. I think the fact that the Tories are having an amateur karaoke contest to find out who the next 2 prime ministers are, people that you've barely even heard of before. There's only 2 left. I think the front runners don't know, or none of the above, but there's another 2 actual real people. Well, maybe not real people. I seen a news report today saying that they might achieve sentiency. They might become sentient beings within the next 30 years. It was like an AI joke. I think it was Daily Mash. But the Westminster's fucked. Scottish government's fucked and all, by the way. Let's not make any... by putting politicians under pressure, because these people are so bad in the Tories. People like Boris because he was a clown. It was like a cartoon character. I don't think the other 2 Tories have got that, but in order for Starmer to win against the Tories, he's going to need to take the NHS seriously. In order for Scotland to get independence, they need to take it. So there is time to put pressure on the politicians. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, well, it was all like the headlines a couple of days ago were all, you know, all the newspapers are talking about it. Really seemed to be flagging it up, whether that was just a slow day and they thought, oh, let's just stick the boot into the NHS. I'm not sure, but you know, and again, I know that it's sketchy when you have like whoever, probably the Daily Mail or whatever, starting to talk about these things because their agenda is different from my agenda with it, or you know, a decent agenda in my opinion.
We want to save the NHS, not replace the NHS.
Yeah.
Larry Klein says, so good to see you telling your story. There should be a charity or something to link up with. That's what it is. If there isn't, fine, tell us if there is a charity. If not, we might need to start one, because it's time to put pressure on. This is unacceptable. There's too much pain going on out there. And Joe, I think we've done an hour and 45 minutes. I think that's enough.
Yeah, I need to go lie down.
You need to go lie down.
I need a 5-minute on
Yeah,
lie down.
it's
Yeah.
your time. It's your time. Your time is over. Thank you very much, Joe the Ark. You can go and support the compilation. One last chance. Thanks to Thomas Ray for putting the CD together. I'm just going to put the link in the comments again.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you want to just get a very, very limited edition thing, then the link is here at the Twistettes Bandcamp. So I'll put that in the comments one more time. If you've bought a Gallus Adventures ticket tonight, then congratulations, you've saved 50%. The lineup is incredible. We'll see you on Saturday for that. If you're a Patreon, I'm going to send you an email that will get you 50% off, and we will reveal the secret location and the running order and a couple more acts very soon. Much love. Says, do you know what? We'll end with the Sex Cake song.
Yeah.
I think I kind of fuck this, fuck that, fuck you.
It's just magical. I love it.
Sex Cakes is 723 views in 2 days. That is crazy. But what I think I love about Sex Cakes,
we love them. We love Sex Cakes, don't we?
They headlined, well, they're co-headliners of the Tum Tum Treat down the Rabbit Hole on their third gig, and you couldn't get in the tent if you weren't quick enough. So we'll end with that because I think that kind of sums it up. Fuck this, fuck that. But it's also, as someone said in the comments, strangely uplifting.
It is, yeah. It's amazing. That's why it's beautiful. It's a perfect song. I love it.
It's an amazing piece of work. Shouts to Bonnie and all the guys. Thank you, Joe, for sharing your story on You Call That Radio. We're actually back tomorrow night as well. We're doing a battle rap special with so the biggest league in battle rap league just now is Premier Battles. Don't Flip seems to have disappeared. So it's Premier Battles, and they're battling the biggest Scottish league, which is Iron Bars, and we're going to be live with them both tomorrow night as they bam each other up ahead of it. You don't really like battle rap, do you, Joe? It's not your thing.
No, I don't know. It depends. I just get really upset at people saying horrible things, but I know that's the point. I know that they've done that to themselves to be doing that, but I'm like, oh God, what a horrible thing to say.
The banter will begin.
It's
a Scotland versus England special ahead of their actual the big gig on Saturday, which I won't make because I'll be at Gallus Adventures, but we're going to be talking about battle rap, and it's going to be quite good to see Scotland and English battle rappers, the best that we've got against the best that they've got, coming together and bamming each other up tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, right here on You Call That Radio. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you to the Patrons who support us at patreon.com/You Call That Radio. This is Sex Cakes, which kind of sums up the story of fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, again. Bye.
Fuck this system of inherent bullshit, and fuck anyone that tells you otherwise. Fuck the pillage of our planet for capitalist gains, and fuck anyone that tells you lies. Fuck your online shopping cart and your consumeristic needs, and fuck the mainstream media and the way that they deceive, and fuck your social construct and who you claim to be. Fuck everything about this life, cause nothing's as it seems. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Fuck your 72-inch telly that fills your head with piss, and fuck that guy you used to date, he was always full of shit. And fuck the way the Tories work and the crushing of our souls, and fuck the lies your parents told those cunts to us they're told. Fuck the education system with its one-size-fits-all policy, and fuck online dating sites and the deception that they breed, and fuck your social media and your Photoshop arse and thighs. Fuck everything about this life, cause it's all a fucking lie. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Fuck that shitty job offer with its 0 hours contract. Fuck lining the pockets of dodgy landlords with excessive rent. And fuck your bourgeois attitude and your superficial wealth. And fuck your codependency and the lies you tell yourself. Fuck your fake sovereignty and your egocentric rage. And fuck the patriarchy and their entitled little ways. And fuck your princess shadow and your holier than thou. Fuck everything about this and those who say it's right. Fuck everything about this life, cause no one gets out alive. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you.
I hope you've seen that. That's the Sex Cakes, by the way. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you. Shout outs to the Sex Cakes. Incredible. That's on the You Call That Radio YouTube channel. If you've not already hit the subscribe button, then please hit the big red button to subscribe. Hit the notifications bell so that you get an update when we're doing something else. And hit the join button. If you want to support the show, you can also support this show on Patreon and Ko-fi.com/You Call That Radio if you want to just make a one-off donation. Leslie says, thanks for sharing your story. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. We will see you at Gallus Adventures. Richard, thanks, John Mart, and keep taking care of everyone. Thank you, Richard. Ember Queen was blocked for 5 minutes. Sorry, Ember Queen, I've hit a button by mistake. You're not blocked. You didn't do anything bad. In case you're wondering, I've hit the wrong one. Bye, Jigsaw Tiger. Thanks for coming on tonight, Joe. Great. Thank you, Joe. So great to see you on the men. Thank you, Jigsaw Tiger. This has been You Call That Radio. That we will see you on Saturday for Gallus Adventures. There is some more acts to be added. It's 20 quid. That includes your camping. There's buses all night if you want to just not camp. And yeah, it's only 20 quid. If you're very, very quick, I'm about to put the price up to 30 quid. Unless you're a patron, you'll still get a 50% discount. And I'll be sending you an email about that tonight. Thank you to everyone who still supports this show. We'll see you tomorrow night for a battle rap special. Premier Battles versus Iron Bars. England versus Scotland. Ahead of their big battle. So hopefully on Saturday. So hopefully see you for that. Yeah, oh, your block's over, Ember. You're back. Yeah, sorry for blocking you. I didn't mean that. You had a time out for 5 minutes. I hope you learned your lesson. This You Call That Radio. Shout outs to Joe D'Arc. Joe D'Arc for sharing their story. And yeah, if anyone has anything to add to that, please do send me a message. And we'll get you on the show in the next week or two when we actually take this one stage further. Can't just leave it like that. It's unacceptable. Things need to change. So let's try and do our wee bit. Bye!
Yeah, no respect in every aspect to the man like Mark. They love what the man talk on the radio. In case you never know. You call that radio, call that the radio. You call that radio, call that the radio. Come and say, in my name, I'll just go with the flow. In my name, I'll just go with the flow. So till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. Till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. Boom. Lot of mercy. Yo. You call that radio. You call that radio. Come and say don't you be another man, I'll go lose your head. Say don't you be another, me say and lose the head. Me say radio. Call that radio. Straight from out of Glasgow. Straight from out of Glasgow, nice enough on the studio. Come and say in my name, I'll just go with the flow. In my name, I'll just go with the flow. So till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. Till you miss a mark, now go bend down low. No radio. You call that the radio. Them man I give you me a lot of subject. And them a thing a man you can't object. So don't you ever come and disrespect. I love and respect in a every aspect.